God's people don't know what time it is. And the first of Elul is so important because that is going to take you up to the fall feast, the time of judgment. The heavenly court is open. And here again, we have this big eclipse coming across the heavens, and God is saying, who knows what time it is? Joel 2:1, blow the shofar in Zion, sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. It's close at hand. Now, listen to Matthew 24:31 through 34. He's going to send out his angels with a great sound of what? And when do you blow the shofar? On Rosh Hashanah, and you're going to see where else. Watch this. But first he says this. He says he's going to gather together his chosen ones from the four winds. That's important. From one end of the sky to the other. And then he says, now from the fig tree learn this parable. When its branches become tender and put forth its leaves, you know summer is near. Even so you also, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even at what? The door. It's one thing to be near in a distance. It's another thing to be near at the door. And then he says, most certainly I tell you, this generation won't pass away till everything is accomplished. Wow. Okay. So 3 things I want to point out. Number 1, when was the shofar to be sounded? Okay. First off, the new moons in particular. Every day, beginning the first of Elul to Rosh Hashanah, they blow it every day. Look at Psalm 81:3 and 4. Blow the shofar when? At the new moon and at the full moon, referring to Passover and Sukkot in particular, on our feast days. And so God wants to give warning. It's on the new moons. It's every month. We're to be watching and aware of what's coming. Now, so here we go. Take a look at our PowerPoint. So the first day of the 6th month. Do you realize my big question is, what time is it? The first day means it's a new moon. And on Tishri 1, of course, they blow the shofar. But they blow it every new moon. So Elul 1 is a time of blowing the shofar, giving a warning, and then they blow it every day because the great shofar is coming on Tishri 1. Now, going back to Matthew 24, who is the fig tree? We see a fig tree. Who's the fig tree? You're going to see Israel is the fig tree, which is why when Israel became a nation, he gathered all the exiles from around the world back to Israel. Okay? Now, Jeremiah 24:3 and 5, God shows Jeremiah a fig tree, and he sees good and bad figs. So I'm just trying to show you that that is the fig tree, Israel is. But now, he said in Matthew, this generation won't pass away till everything is fulfilled. So the question is, how long is a generation? Some say 40, some say 50, some say 70, some say 100, some say 120. Well, guess what? This year fulfills every single one of those. And I'm going to show you how this year fulfills the 40, the 50, the 70, the 100, the 120. It doesn't matter. They're all fulfilled this year. Watch. Okay. Let me see where I'm at. Okay, how many of you know in Matthew 24:37, we're in Matthew 24, it says, as the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Is that right? Okay, so Genesis 6:3, the Lord said, my spirit will not strive with man forever because he's also flesh, yet his days will be how many years? In other words, 120 years till the flood comes. That's what they had. All right? Well, guess what? The first Zionist Congress was held by Theodore Herzl as a symbol as a symbolic parliament for those in sympathy with the independence of Zionist goals, for the implementation, Herzl had planned to hold the gathering in Munich, Germany, but due to local Jewish opposition, he transferred the gathering to Basel, Switzerland, and the Congress took place in the concert hall of the Basel Municipal Court on August 29, 1897. So I think that's fascinating. That is 120 years ago from when the first Zionist Congress came till now. Oh, and by the way, do you know what August 29th of 1897 was? The first of Elul. I'm talking 120 years to the day. So it's like, well, the first Zionist Congress was 120 years ago. Well, guess what? 50 years ago, Jerusalem was unified. 100 years ago was the Balfour Declaration. 70 years ago was the UN partition plan. It was actually in 1947, I think in December, and then in 1948, the war took place. But let's go back to 100 years ago. Remember, it was as of the days of Noah? Remember that? We already saw a 120-year connection. Well, get a load of this. The Declaration was contained in a letter dated November 2nd, 1917. This is the Balfour Declaration from the United Kingdom's Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to Lord Walter Rothschild as the leader of the British Jewish community. Basically, they were saying we need to have Palestine for the Jews. Okay? Well, guess what? November 2nd, 1917, when you tie to the biblical calendar, was the 17th of Heshvan, which is the day Noah's flood began. You go and look at Genesis. I have right here, Genesis 7:11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month. That is the 17th of Heshvan. That's the day Noah's flood came. So now we have not only the 120 years tied to a little one, referring to Noah, we also have the 100 years referring, and it's happening, the Balfour Declaration, on the same day of the flood. Okay, and then of course, what do we have? 1948, it was as a nation, but you'll notice it was in 1947, September 3rd is when it was, is when UN 181 came into being. So we have the 120, we have the 100, we have the 70, which is very significant. And of course, we have the 50. This is when Jerusalem was recaptured. And in case you also didn't know, the Reformation took place exactly 500 years ago with Martin Luther as well. Okay, now, so here we are, coming up September 2017. Now, what is fascinating to me is here we have September 23rd. Okay, September 21st is Rosh Hashanah. September 22nd is the second day of Rosh Hashanah. September 23rd is when we have the woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and she's crowned with 12 stars. Okay, that happens on a Shabbat. And the Torah portion is Ha'azinu, which is the song of Moses that talks about in Revelation. Okay, now, in Revelation 12, it says there was a great sign seen in heaven. There was a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was with a child. She cried out in pain, laboring to give birth. She brought forth a man-child to rule all nations, okay? And then the man-child was caught up to God and to his throne. All right, everything is always tied back to the Torah. Where do we read about a man-child being born in the Torah? Leviticus 12. Revelation 12, Leviticus 12. It talks about if a woman gives birth to a boy, she has 40 days. If it's to a girl, she has 80 days. But I want to point something out. Notice this. In Leviticus 12 is where it says, speak to the children of Israel. If a woman be delivered and bear a man-child, she's unclean how many days? 7 days. As in the days of her impurity, of her sickness, she shall be unclean. But then what happens? Of course, the 8th day, the boy is circumcised. But she continues the purification process now for 33 days. All right? And she's not to come into the sanctuary until it is done. Okay. Well, if you look at September 23rd, think that's when the woman who is giving birth in the heavens, as in Revelation, she's unclean how many days? 7 days, which takes her to Yom Kippur. Then the 33 days of purification goes, and then she's presented to the Lord, just like Simeon and Anna. It was on the 40th day when Yeshua was born. They present the little baby in the temple. Well, guess what happens 33 days from there, from Yom Kippur? 33 days later takes you to the same day as the Balfour Declaration, when Israel should be born, November 2nd. Now, I'm already 7 minutes over. Can I have 1 minute? 1 more minute. Okay. 2001, in 2001, this is when the UN was, every year they have their International Peace Day. Okay? It was always like to be the second Tuesday of the month. But in 2001, because of 9/11, 9/11 was supposed to be International Peace Day. But because 9/11 happened, they postponed it to September 21st. And of course, they don't ever want to have UN Peace Day fall on 9/11 again, so they switched it to September 21st. From now on, it's always going to be on September 21st, taking effect in 2002. Okay, so again, it's the 21st of September this year. It's to be observed around the whole world, and the General Assembly declared this is the day devoted to strengthening the ideals of peace, with and among all nations and people. So here we have September 21st as this year, as in every year for the last 16 years. But it so happens, even though it is every year on September 21st, for the first time in 16 years, that's Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, they should be blowing a shofar. But they're declaring International Peace Day. Now, they have a theme every year for International Peace Day. 2014, it was the right of people to peace. 2015, Partnership for Peace, Dignity for All. 2016, Sustainable Development Goals, Building Blocks for Peace. The theme for 2017 is Peace and Safety. On Rosh Hashanah. First Thessalonians 5, 1 through 4. Concerning the time and seasons, you have no need I write anything to you, for yourselves know well the day of the Lord comes as a thief in the night, and when they are saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes like birth pains on a pregnant woman, which is the Revelation 12 sign in the sky. But it says, you, brethren, are not in darkness, that they will overtake you as a thief, because you are tied to the biblical calendar. So thank you.